Welcome,
Yeah,
everybody. This is week 6 of Leadership Development Show from the U.S. National Team. We're talking about leadership, character development. Andy and I were just together last week. I was up in northern Michigan. As you can see, he's out there in his backyard. He's got some beautiful wilderness. It's an amazing place up there, Andy. I really, every time I go up there, I enjoy myself.
yeah, I like a lot of natural areas, small town, you know, uh, good community of all kind of outdoor minded people.
Yeah, we have that in common. Living
Yeah.
living on a farm, living on the river. The base camp this year's back in Eagle Creek, out in the wilderness, and we did some great videos last year of all the fun activities we did. Real manly things. We shot some guns, we rafted, we hiked up to the waterfalls and did our recovery in the natural springs, and we hit the hot springs up there. And I told you about the log walk, right? Remember the log walk I told you about, where all the
Oh
guys
yeah,
where they they
yep.
they looked at it like this big challenge and they were going across the log. But when we were up there and we went out for dinner and we had some good conversation, we were talking about what it takes to develop leaders within your program, and what kind of things are you doing in your room in your program to help these guys develop themselves into leaders, because you certainly are getting some really quality athletes up there and some quality young men as well.
Yeah. Well, I think just trying to help guide them in developing their own, you know, wrestling styles, and then they see that, or they some of the more skilled or veteran guys um, look at some of the younger guys and help kind of guide them too. So I think just having different tiers of age levels and and kind of abilities creates a situation where guys can do that.
When you're recruiting, are you looking for certain characteristics, certain virtues that these young athletes possess?
Yeah, absolutely. We want guys that show that type of leadership qualities. We've had some athletes come in and it might be their first year, but they're right away quick to do anything that's asked, quick to find um, solutions and help, or to help themselves, not just relying on um, some kind of instruction all the time. They can help themselves, uh, and then that they're gonna see success faster.
So you're looking
And
for somebody that's kind of industrious on their self, they're self-reliant, they have some resiliency.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, I would think, in our sport, courage is key. And
Hmm.
on and off the mat, I think, being courage, and and we talk about a lot about, on this show, we've talked a lot about being selfless. And I know you talked about, your young kids and the difference between adolescence and we, when we grew up, it was either you were a boy and then you were a man. There wasn't this stage of adolescence. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think. Um, I mean, for me and like my generation, seen people kind of still um, living in that stage, whereas I'm 31, 32, and still kind of stuck in that adolescent stage, not really sure and not really like trying to take control of their life, just letting it happen. And um, I think big difference in that, like if I'd be around them, you could just see that they're not mature. They're still that adolescent stage, and until you mature as a lot of people maybe are you taking care of your body, doing the right things, getting into trouble, like that kind of maturity. But also, like, are you striving to drive forward in your you know career towards goals, like those kind of things too, you need to be mature with, and doing those things.
Do you think we lack like some kind of rite of passage? I know back in like the olden days or whatever, there was always like some kind of rite of passage that you had to go through. And when you talk about your young children, they're selfish and they're dependent completely on you and Ashley. It's like they can't get
Right.
by without you, and that's okay because they are children. But when we're
Yeah.
talking about athletes that have left their home, they've moved up to northern Michigan, they're a part of your program at the Olympic training site. This isn't just some college program where guys are coming up to party and have a good college time, and this is
Right.
something serious. Tell us about what kind of standards, what kind of expectations you have for the athletes you're bringing into your program.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's we're here to help you and to guide our athletes, but we're not here to hold hands to monitor you. You got to be mature in your time here and use it really well. every every moment used to your advantage. You can't be staying out late. We're not there to wake you up, make sure you're getting to practice, make sure you're doing this. That's on you. That's part of being a mature adult, being a man. You come into our program and we say what your goals are. We think we have kind of along the same page, but then when you're not showing those things, it's you're not a man of your word. Hard to say you're a man at all.
Okay, so I'm going to take a couple notes here, just because you're dropping some good wisdom. First thing is be a man of your word. If you say you're going to do
Yeah.
something, do it. Uh,
Right.
okay, because I'm going to put these notes in the after the show, and sometimes I just go back and listen to it, but that's just something I wanted to make sure I put in there. So that's certainly one thing. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, if I and we have a contract with our athletes. We post the schedule on the wall. We hand them the schedule and say, this is the time that practice starts. That serves as a contract in a sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you want to sign a paper and shake hands every time a schedule comes out. I don't know, but you're here to practice. Okay, so you'll be at practice. Yes.
Yeah, but that's inherent. Like, I mean, what if you didn't show up, or Coach Herman didn't show up, and the guys were there? I mean, you wouldn't be a man of your word. But I know every
Right.
time you have a schedule posted, you're going to be there on time. You're going to be there prepared and ready to go. And what does showing up prepared mean? I mean, is it a mindset? Is it something physical? Is it something mental? I mean, what does
I
being on time mean to you?
I think it's everything that you just mentioned. Mentally being prepared, like going into practice. Okay, we all have times where we're kind of slow going, but you commit to the practice. You gotta be able to kind of get that your motor going, and if you're not doing that, there's a real chance you could get hurt. And I tell that to guys a lot too. I'm just like, listen, if you know if that's something you're slow to do right now, maybe we got to spend some extra time warming up. Otherwise, maybe we should talk about what's going on.
Well, what would you say to somebody who's habitually has a problem where they're maybe they're there presently, they're physically there in the room, but they're not mentally prepared for practice. They're putting their shoes on as you're blowing the first whistle. As their
Yeah,
mind's not in it. They're still thinking about, they're not able to compartmentalize training from life to school, their
right.
academics. I mean, how did you
Yeah,
handle that? You went through this program up there.
yeah, and it was a very quick learning curve on what was expected and what was not going to be tolerated. You know, um, a lot of times I woke up in the middle of the night thinking I was late for practice and in complete nervous panic. And um, you know, it's just like there was a time my freshman year, first semester, ran out, woke up, jumped out of the top bunk, and ran out of the dorms. without my keys or anything, and it was only 2:30 in the morning. I thought it was past practice. I was locked outside at 2:30 in the morning. So,
Did you have a
but
roommate that let you back in, or did you have a single room?
no, I had roommates, but I wasn't on scholarship. I wasn't part of the wrestling, like wasn't on that floor, and so
Oh, you were on
I
a
was able
different
to,
you were on a different
you know,
floor back then because you weren't one of the
yeah,
scholarship athletes.
right. I wasn't getting a scholarship, but
So you were trying to earn your way to get that scholarship and get on the same floor
yeah,
as the rest of the
I
athletes.
think I think that was like um, with Yvonne not being on scholarship. You were late or missed. He wasn't quite as he knew he didn't have that hanging over you, but I knew too that was my ticket to get what I wanted, to get that scholarship. Not gonna be late or miss anything.
Okay, so
Uh,
let's go down there. So say somebody's not quite at the level where maybe you're recruiting them. You're actively going after this guy. He hasn't made a cadet world team or a junior world team. He hasn't, you know, won a Fargo title or anything. So it's somebody that enjoys Greco. He loves it, but he hasn't excelled at academically or athletically yet. But he's doing the right things. He's just not there yet, and he wants to be a part of your program. What message do you give this athlete?
um, that I was right there. That was me. Um, I hadn't. I took like seventh at Fargo my senior year. You know, and I mean I made two junior teams like the next 2 years, but even after that, I still hadn't won a senior match like my first 3 years at Northern. It just took me a long time to have that kind of success. But it was like the skills of coming on time, coming prepared mentally, physically, um, to do whatever was asked with an open mind. That's what repeating that day in and day out, twice a day. Is kind of what did it, what was able to get me there.
So I'm just thinking of the kind of the virtues that we're looking for in athletes, and if they're similar. I mean, that first thing that I heard you say was courage. You want somebody that's courageous and willing to take that chance and go a different path than the traditional folk style path. Somebody that's willing to say, I'm confident enough, even though I've only placed seventh at Fargo one time. I'm confident to say I can compete in the Olympic Games. I can win a world
Yeah,
medal. So you want somebody
yeah,
that's got that kind of courage and confidence. Um,
right.
you want somebody that's not selfish, that thinks of his teammates first and is loyal, kind of an individual.
Yeah, absolutely. I had this conversation a few different times where wrestling an individual sport, you know, there's this kind of back and forth. You got to be like selfish and selfless, like kind of back and forth at different times. Where if you're the guy that made the team, you kind of you gotta be really taking care of yourself, and it's kind of on you. But a lot of times of the year, though, you're trying to get your partners better too, as well. Trying to give them things that nobody else can but you.
So you really got to be present when you show up at practice. You have to be fully aware of how and have some kind of goals and plans, the things that you want to accomplish. But one of those things on that list should be, how can I be a good training partner? How can I be a better partner? If I'm a better partner, maybe I'm going to get better. Is that something that you learned while you were in your early years at Northern?
Yeah, and I had a lot of good guys on the team, good leaders that were doing those types of things, that were helping us younger guys as we were coming in, understand that. And I still see that with our team here, with the some of the older guys on the team getting the young guys staying after, kind of finding out who might have similar styles and really helping them, uh, develop.
Right. I mean, I saw, the day with the last day I was up there, I had an individual plan. I said, as the national coach, I'm up here. I spent a few days up there in the room with your athletes, and we worked on some really important skills. One of the things you liked was that plan of attack, to where the guys, they create their own, how they're going to start the match, the first tie they're going to go to, the first attack they're going to go to. What do I do if
Mhm.
this guy counters that? And one of the athletes, asked me, he said, Coach, how do, this isn't a technical question. This is a confidence question. And he said, I don't really have the confidence to go out there and hit my moves. And I explained to him the reason why we brought this sheet up there for them to fill out was to write their own plan down. And you really like this. You want to talk about why you felt that was important and why that builds the confidence and the courage in these guys?
I like that just because it's not holding their hand. It's them taking steps, trying to figure out things, and if it doesn't work, of course, I'm there as a coach to help them out, to work back through some things, to change some things, But then it's kind of them creating what they want to do, and that I think um, is helping them mature in a wrestling sense, um, where they can take what they created and do it, and then when it works, they really uh, are rewarded with that. And it's not like, yeah, coach showed me his series and I did his series. It's my series that I made, and I won a national title. I won a world medal with. So, I think that's what's important.
So you're holding them accountable to take personal responsibility is what it sounds like to me. Because you don't, I mean, you don't necessarily
Yeah.
what you did to win your medals isn't maybe what Dalton or Randon's going to do to win his medals. They got to create their own art, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't if it doesn't work, I'm there to help guide them, maybe in a little different track, or help them work through it. But essentially, it's theirs.
Well, let's talk about sacrifice. How important is sacrifice in this sport, in becoming a man, and in going from that childhood stage to being an adult man. How important is sacrifice? And I want to hear about some of the sacrifices you made, maybe while you were at Northern. I already heard about you came up there without a scholarship, and then some of the sacrifices I'm aware of that you did when you were out here in Colorado. Let's hear from you how important you think that sacrificing is.
Yeah, I think every time you're sacrificing something for something else, you're investing in that. Um, whatever you're sacrificing for is you're investing in that. And I mean, when for me, a father, mm, immediately like sacrificing so many things for my kids, for my wife, and you know, to try to anything else I have left, kind of got to sacrifice for my sport. I mean, in Colorado, it was uh, working. I was working a part time job, started like 8.50 an hour, and I was working 30 some hours a week. While training full time, not missing any training sessions. Is kind of kind of rough, but I mean, I didn't. You don't think about that. It's just this is what you're gonna do. And there was a number of times being a outdoorsy kind of guy, I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice to go into the mountains and whatnot, but I'm gonna miss practice. I can't do that. I can't you know just kind of disappear for a number of days. I have training. I have to take care of my body. Or then even if I did have downtime away from wrestling, I still had that part time job. I kind of had to be at if I wanted to keep things going the same way. So, uh, I mean, with that sacrifice, and especially when I was working 30 some hours, it's like, man, my time in the wrestling room, I'm still making the training sessions, but I kind of gotta, I get in there right on time and gotta get out right away. And I know I don't have like a ton of energy when I'm in there. I got enough to do practice, but I got to make sure that energy isn't going wasted. Is it's going to what needs to be done to really changing bad habits. Because even after being at Northern, I still had some bad habits with my stance and with positioning and pressure, and like those were things where go to practice and it's like, okay, don't think about anything else except staying in good position, staying right here in your stance. Make them get you out of it. Don't take yourself out. But I think sacrificing just it forced me to focus so much more.
Well, we had a chance to talk over dinner about like what becoming a man and having kids and having a wife really does change that, really does force you to do that. It's different than having a girlfriend or some kind of relationship that's not a covenantal relationship with your wife, and then the relationship you have with your children, your family. It's completely
Mm-hmm.
different. So what so say somebody doesn't have a wife and kids, but what kind of sacrifices could young athletes make? What kind of things do they need to sacrifice to reach the kind of level that you're expecting them to reach if they're in your program?
Well, I mean, something I've talked to um, a few of the guys about on the team is like, uh, beginning of the year, you got maybe it's college. There's different expectations. You're gonna go to this party, or you're gonna drink. I mean, people peer pressure can be challenging, but I think it's really challenging just the first time or the second time, and after you said no, you've made this. You've shown them this sacrifice that's not what you're going to do. That's not what you're about. You do that a few times, they're not going to ask. They kind of will let you off, and it no longer becomes a chance where you have to say no. They know that's who you are, and they respect that.
So you got to be resolute. I mean, you got to take personal responsibility for all your actions. You have to be very resolute in your convictions and what you say. So so what you say matches up with your actions. If you say, "Oh no, I'm not going to drink," but the next time you go out to a
Yeah,
party, you're out there throwing them back with the boys. You know,
yeah,
people are going to look at you differently. They're going to look at you as if you aren't a man of character and you don't have the kind of integrity that we're talking about.
yeah. Because you're not being a man of your word. So,
Okay. Um, so what other expectations do you have for, I guess, for a guy coming in? What are you looking for, and then what do you want to see them develop once they become part of your program? I mean, there's certain characteristic of an individual you're looking for. I would
yeah,
imagine. And then there's
um,
certain things that you are tolerable when they're children, but when they become in your program and they have the kind of goals that an athlete that's in an Olympic training program, because this is what people don't understand is this is not your typical college program. This isn't one of the 70 some NCAA programs or 100 different D2 NAIA programs. This is an Olympic
right.
training site. There's only one program that's like this that gives the kind of support and helps guys reach these type of goals.
Yeah. And I mean, I want, if we talked about coming in with different credentials and whatnot, that that's not the biggest deal. But where I want to see is guys really giving that effort. You don't know any moves, but you're going, you're going after it. You're trying. You're looking at every option available on how to score, how to get to the body, how to open guys up. I mean, I talked to some of the athletes about they're having a bad match. What's going through their head? Are they kind of um, are solutions coming to their mind about situations, or are they just kind of like in awe? And the harder thing to deal with is that they're just kind of awe and starstruck, like this is really happening. I'm just, watching a bad car accident. Like, I want guys to be able to be proactive in finding solutions and creating scoring opportunities, whether they score or not. That's that's all right. But they're not scared in there.
So I mean, you come back to courage. You're talking about
Yeah.
effort and attitude.
Yeah.
The kind of effort you're looking for and the kind of attitude you're looking for is what I'm hearing. Am I on track?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
That's.
want somebody that's very industrious.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. And then once they are in your program, what are the expectations? Right? How did they change?
Oh well, I mean, a lot of them with the effort and attitude. That's um stays the same, but it's increasing. Every time you do something, you can do it. You can work harder. You can do it, change it more efficiently. You can always improve, and um, so that's kind of a constant. But the amount of effort you're giving is increasing, even though it's always your max kind of effort. But
Your
and then
your your
when they're
better
here too,
is your better is better because you've improved.
right?
And so you expect more out of this athlete because now he's hit a new plateau and you want to get him to
Yeah,
that next level. Okay. I mean the bottom line is true manliness exists for those athletes that go out there and they seek it. They're not looking to stay in that adolescent zone. The guys that are
right.
truly out there to be a part of your program because I've had guys that have all the skills, but they don't have the right mindset. They want to remain a child. They want to remain, dependent on other people. They want to remain selfish individuals, and that just isn't going to get them to that next level.
Yeah, it's it's pretty hard working like that. You know, you find a lot more closed opportunities like with those kind of characteristics.
All right. Well, we're getting close to our 30-minute window here. I want to give some last thoughts from you and any last message you want to send out to our national team guys that are listening to the program. But this was a topic that was kind of on your mind was, getting these young men to become men and not remain in that adolescent phase, because that doesn't exist. That's not real. It's a made up construct that society's given. Is what it's done is it's giving boys an excuse to remain children, and instead of moving
Yeah.
into adulthood. And so you really wanted to address this topic specifically. So I'm gonna give you the last final words on this, Sandy, and go ahead.
Well, I just thinking uh think like with my kids and they're young kids, but I can ask them to do things, you know, 10 times, 50 times, as many times as I want. It doesn't matter. They're not, they're kids. They don't do them. And, I see certain athletes on the team, you ask, no matter how many times you do them or ask them, they're not changing. They're not doing what you're asking. They still do things wrong or do the wrong things. And I mean, like when I'm trying to change the kind of the bad tendencies, when I was talking about in Colorado, where I just go to practice and focusing on one thing, it's like, okay, well, they've been telling me this for how long? It's time to really address this, to fix this. You can't have somebody tell you over and over and over and never do it. It sounds like a kid. Well, yeah, okay, so we got to change these things. No, it's I think that's like a big difference, and you um, see some guys stuck in their ways, and it's really disappointing, frustrating, um, that that goes on, or that it's going to continue to go on as um, kind of the way it seems society's taking guys. Yeah, it's for you. It's about you. It's they're just kind of the mainstream, just kind of pushing this like it's some kind of agenda to keep I think more younger males in this phase of adolescence where it's like you should be a man.
And when is this going to happen, and what's the catalyst to make it happen? Well, I mean, the catalyst should be if you're a part of this program, these are the standards and these are the expectations. Um, but we gotta be patient as you are, and give these guys some time, and give them some direction. But there becomes a point when you find out maybe you got the wrong guy. What do you do in that situation? Do you ask this individual to maybe move on and find something new to do, or
Yeah, we gotta have a conversation about their intentions and their kind of um their evaluate their goals, intentions, and yeah, you're right. Maybe suggest something else. They need to, you know,
well, I mean,
got to
wrestling
somebody.
is a tough sport as it is. I
Yeah,
mean, it's a hard enough sport as it is, and when you're trying to be the best in the world, it gets a lot harder. Well, we're
yeah,
not asking our guys. Our expectations aren't all American status or to win a state title. We're talking about getting to the Olympic Games and competing at the highest levels at the World Championships and Olympic Games and Pan American Continental Championships. So I mean, it's a
hmm
whole different level. It's a whole different kind of athlete that you're looking for than maybe somebody that's just looking to go party and go to college. Did I lose you?
we got to make those sacrifices, and yeah, we got to make the sacrifices and just hey, this is what it's gonna take. If this is what I want, you know, um, 10, 12, 15 years from now, I'll be able to be happy with everything I gave at every point in my career. So.
Well, I know you don't have any regrets in your career. You've achieved some pretty amazing accomplishments, and yeah, I know you didn't get to the levels you wanted to. We all kind of fall short on where we're going when we're chasing those bigger dreams. But at the same time, you didn't leave anything on the table. You don't have any regrets as far as I wish I would have.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
I feel pretty satisfied with with the effort I gave.
that's awesome. Well, hey, show us where you're at there by your fire, and you got
Oh
some
yeah,
wood. Show us around. Pretty nice
with
place,
the
Andy.
yeah. So
All right, buddy. Well, we'll talk soon. Thanks for coming on the show.
yep, yeah.